We're joined by CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman. Rikki, good morning.
Good morning, Anthony.
Mark touched on some of the charges that they may be considering here. I want to go to this point, which is pretty interesting. Missouri's grand jury system is actually quite different than most states, correct?
Indeed it is,
How
in
so?
many ways. Most states have a grand jury where 23 people sit, and 13 have to vote on an indictment. Very easy to get an indictment. We used to say in law school that you could indict a ham sandwich if you were a prosecutor, or not if you chose to. This grand jury, first of all, is composed of 12. It only takes a vote of 9. By the way, that's much harder to get an indictment, to get 9 of 12 than it is 13 to 23, simply by the math. Also, this grand jury is very different. It is meeting once a week, and it is getting from the prosecutor the entire case. It is getting the good, the bad, and the ugly. All pieces of evidence are going in. Ordinarily, a police officer would go in and say, this is the evidence that I found, this is what Susie would say, this is what Johnny would say, all hearsay can go in. Here, all of the witnesses are being called in to testify on both sides. And what the prosecutor is also doing is he is saying, and the two assistant female prosecutors are saying to this grand jury, you can consider all of these charges. This is up to you, not up to me.
Right.
But he's also saying something that, in your own words, it's very rare, could be illegal, the fact that this prosecuting attorney is saying, if there is no indictment, I will release all of the evidence in this case.
I think it's very difficult for your viewers to understand this. Grand jury proceedings are secret for a reason. They were always the citizens that stood between the accused and the crown, if we go back to the history of the grand jury. So they were allowed to testify in secret, the witnesses, so they could testify without fear of reprisal. So here, I am sure you have many witnesses who have testified that do not want their names or their testimony publicized. We never have heard of this. Now, Missouri does have a law that says that you can go to the courts and get grand jury minutes released for cause shown, good cause shown. So what the prosecutor is saying is if there is no indictment, communities around the country, I want you to become, my good cause is so that there is no violence. That is really extraordinary. In most places, if a prosecutor let out evidence of a grand jury, he or she could be prosecuted or lose their license.
Rikki, let me look at it. As I said, Mark laid out some of the charges the grand jury might be considering, and as you point out, it's going to be up to them to decide what charge they want to. But surely the prosecutor must be aiming for something here in the way he presents his evidence, yes?
Well, one would think so, but I think that this prosecutor's office has gone out of its way to say the jury is the voice of the community and they will make a decision. So you have everything from murder 1, beyond unlikely, murder 2, knowingly, highly unlikely, to the manslaughters or a complete defense. By the way, a complete defense for a police officer in the state of Missouri is one of the broadest in favor of that awesome power that police have to take a life, much broader than most states, because he is allowed to take a life if it is a fleeing felon. And in this case, if Darren Wilson knew that these people had been involved in a robbery. And if you look at the audio dispatches, it is quite possible that Darren Wilson knew, and they had this terrible scuffle in the car over that gun or just in fighting where Officer Wilson was injured and Michael Brown goes away, the defense can invoke that defense of that extraordinary power given to police.
After 3 months of waiting for this verdict, so many people are tuned in. Rikki Klieman, thank you so much.
Thank you.